About to shut it down. A glass of wine, ladies. Let the Henny flow, fellas. And get ready to turn the fucking up to room shadow. It's Karen Hill live on Say It Loud Radio on your favorite internet platform, streaming live.
It is another episode of Say It Loud podcast, and it's your girl here, Karen L. It's always a joy when I get to, hang out with my listeners and bring my favorite guests to the show, especially this one because she's been here before and she's back to hang out with me, and I love you for that. So today, behind the mic is TJ Vida, who came to hang out with me and talk about her project that she's currently working on, an event that she's bringing to New York City, to the Bronx, which I love because, I'm Bronx born. So why not, participate and have TJ here to tell us all about it, because we want to share that with everybody else. Hi, TJ.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. You know what? I love this because this is the last show, it was just audio.
Yes.
So now this is the first time that, I guess you could call it the first time since it's visual now too. So
yes,
I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank you for supporting me and having me come on and talk about this amazing, amazing project.
Of course.
Tiring but amazing project.
So let's talk about how this project came about in the first place. Let's start there.
We're gonna start back. Where should I start? Okay, 2017. I'm also a recording artist, for those who don't know. And I decided to do an event that was geared towards epilepsy awareness. It was a very small, intimate event. It was my first event. And the intention was only to have a one-time event for this. The Epilepsy Foundation came out, Epilepsy Foundation of New York. And it was a nice event. During that time, my son was in the hospital. He has epilepsy and he was in the hospital, so he wasn't able to attend the event. And I believe at that time, it was 2017. I think he was about 15. Yeah, something like that. So we had it in the Parkchester section of the Bronx. And again, I had no intention of going any further. And then after that, the Epilepsy Foundation of New York was impressed by it, that he really saw growth and wanted me to continue to do events. So following that, in the years after, I had about 5 more events, mixed with concerts. I had a concert in the Boston Road section of the Bronx. I had one on Castle Hill in the YMCA.
Nice.
And we had 2 workshops. So along those years, I was learning the reality of epilepsy. Now, I myself have epilepsy. I don't really say it often, and it's not because it's a secret. It's just when you're a parent and your child is dealing with a condition that my son had it way worse than I ever did. It's not about me anymore. It's more about him. And when you're caring for someone with epilepsy, whether it's your child or your parent, or if you work in medicine and you're caring for someone, the challenges that come with their condition, with living a regular day-to-day life, affects your day-to-day life as well.
Right. Because you're taking care of them.
Right. So along the way of learning all the challenges that come with having epilepsy, physical challenges, safety challenges, living environment challenges, cognitive issues, emotional, psychological issues, the list goes on and on. That comes with trial and error.
Right.
Sadly, that's just how it is. So while I was doing these events, every event I had something more to try to include from what I was learning. And then I had my last event. I was going into a school. Now, originally, I had went into Riverview High School in Rockland County, which was the only time I did anything outside the Bronx. That's because my son went to that school, and they catered to students that had different types of conditions and issues. So I did an event out there, which I have to say that was the most memorable and honorable event of all. And that's because the kids were so intrigued
Right.
by the lessons and the speakers and the performances. It's funny because we were dealing with high school students and the
Mm-hmm.
performers were kind of worried, like, are they gonna like what we do?
Right.
We're in our 30s and 40s going on stage in front of high school kids, and
Yeah.
you worry about the criticism, and they loved it. They
Yeah.
loved it. They engaged to the point that the show about a whole half hour at the end was geared towards, they had questions.
Mm-hmm.
There were a number of students who spoke about this affecting their home and family, but they never talked about it.
Right.
And it was beautiful because we made it like a celebration. It wasn't an event to get you teary-eyed and cry and therapeutic. It was more like we're
Right.
celebrating something, that there could be a positive out of this, and we can make it
Right.
a positive together because it's not something talked about. And that
Right.
event proved it. Not only is it not talked about in our generation, but in our youth,
Yeah.
the younger
Yeah,
generation,
definitely.
it's definitely not talked about because a lot of them aren't even aware of it.
Right.
So, I was supposed to go into a public school in the Bronx, in 2022 or 2022. Yeah, 2022. I was supposed to go into a school in the Bronx to do a program for epilepsy awareness. And how that happened was, the director for the PAL program there, I went and gave her a presentation, and she's never heard of epilepsy. She's never seen a seizure.
Really?
But she was intrigued by what I had to offer. Now, this school particularly has majority Latino students and a large African population. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make it more about the parents learning the symptoms and
Right.
getting checked before allowing your child to get evaluated through Department of Education and we all know how this goes.
Right.
A lot of our Black and Hispanic children are labeled with behavioral
Issues.
diagnoses and push medication on them, but they're not informed to go see a doctor, a neurologist,
Right. A
preferably.
neuro. Yeah, because the school system doesn't do a neuro.
No, they don't. So my whole purpose was to go in and make parents aware of what this is. I had translators lined up to let them know this is what the symptoms are. And if your child is struggling with this, go see a neurologist. Get it checked. It doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the event was supposed to be held March 18th. And that is the week that all the schools closed for COVID.
That's right.
So I said, okay, you know what? No big deal. The schools are going to close. Everybody had the same mindset. We're going to reschedule whatever we have for the next month.
Right.
Well, that just kept going to the point that it just never obviously happened because COVID took over for a long time.
Right.
I ended up moving to Florida. And
Lucky.
I don't know about lucky. I'm lucky for certain things, but I had no intention of putting any focus into Caesar Cure at that point. It was like, if it happened, it happened. But right now my focus is getting my life together in this new state, new culture, this new way of life.
Right.
Interestingly, the Epilepsy Foundation, I kept in contact with the director. He reached out to me and he said, I think you should do something for epilepsy awareness. November is Epilepsy Awareness Month.
That's right.
Let's try to do something. And I said, okay. He says, I want you to do a presentation for a big pharmaceutical company that's interested in hearing what you can bring to the Bronx. So I did the presentation. It went well. I felt good about it. I didn't expect anything out of it.
Right.
And honestly speaking, personal issues were hitting me so hard that I felt like I don't even think I can do this.
Right.
I was, doubting myself. Now, December of 2022, December, the director for that PAL program reaches out to me, and I didn't get the call, but she left me a message. And interestingly, I didn't hear the message right away because my phone was acting up and I had to get a new phone and the wonderful voicemail that we deal with. I finally got it about 2 weeks later, and she was crying, saying that her son, God brought me into her life because her son started having convulsions.
Oh my gosh.
He
Look
was
at that.
diagnosed with epilepsy. And she said her last words were, I would love to speak to you. I need your help because I know that you can prepare me for what to expect.
Right.
But please don't stop doing
What
what
you
you're doing
doing?
with your organization because I want to help you if I can. And we need this. The people of the
Oh,
Bronx need this.
oh my gosh, that gave me
So
goosebumps.
that, yeah,
That's
I,
crazy.
that really did it for me. Um, I spoke to her, I gave her the harsh reality of what to expect because one of the reasons I started Seize the Cure, it's not for finding a cure. That's not
Right.
my job. That's not my goal. I'm not clinical. I'm not a doctor. So I can't
Hmm.
I can't offer anything to that. But what I can offer is while you're being diagnosed with epilepsy or your child is being diagnosed with epilepsy, the doctors have one job, which is to try to find a medical treatment that will either cure or at least have you stable and not
Right.
having as many least seizures and less severity of seizures.
Right.
But they don't tell you worst case scenario. They don't tell you the probability of your child has absence seizures, which is the ones that look like you're spacing out and daydreaming.
Hmm.
They don't tell you that those a lot of times escalate to convulsions. They don't tell
Oh.
you that seizure medication has a very, 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 very high probability of causing psychiatric issues. And then
Oh.
psychiatric medications tend to cause seizures.
So they just counter each other.
Right. Um, they don't tell you all the things that if you are having convulsions or your child is having convulsions, these are the things that you should do to your house to
Mm.
safeguard your child or yourself from serious injuries.
That's good to
So
know.
this is where I come in. This is where Seize the Cure comes in. Okay, you've been diagnosed with this condition. It's great if you're not having convulsions, but this is what you need to prepare for in the event that it starts happening. Or this is what you need to do to your home so that way your safety is it's not a life-threatening situation if you have a seizure.
Right.
Not saying that you can't have a life-threatening a seizure even with your house safeguarded.
Right. Right. It's just let me
But
help you
take the
learn the
precautions.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think also another thing that's really important, and hearing that woman speak to you about this is that oftentimes we don't have a community when you're going through something like that. People tend to like not want to talk about it or be ashamed like they're the only person or whisper to somebody like it's somebody's fault and it's not. And I think building a community where you can go to someone who has been in this situation, another mother, a friend, a aunt, somebody else, where you can be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening, but I know you understand. I don't think my family understands, but you understand. I think building a community around is also important because you need to have people with epilepsy or any other diagnosis. It doesn't just affect that person. And we were talking about this. It affects the entire family, the other children in the home, the mom, the dad, the grandma. Like if I'm babysitting and something happens, what do I do? So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to build a community around people that can support you and give you that knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
because the doctor will look for something to help, but the doctor's not really understanding the doctor's not there for mom's emotional well-being. The doctor's there to help, slow the seizures down for your child. The doctor's not there to tell mom, what you're feeling is totally valid too, and your fear is okay. And I think that's something, TJ, that you can offer because you've been in that situation and you can have those conversations with other parents.
Absolutely. And the doctor, like it's like you said, their job is to treat, medicate, surgery in many in unfortunate cases. Um, but they don't know the personal situation. They don't know the personal finances. They don't know where you can go to help with, um, financial support, because
Right.
whether you have a child with epilepsy or any condition for that matter, it affects you working.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It affects you working. It affects your mental health. It
Right.
affects, And here's another thing. And again, I'm talking as I'm thinking of all the things that I went through along the years, because now my son is 21. So we're talking about teenage years, adolescent, preteen, teenage years, going into adulthood. What are the challenges of transition having a condition like epilepsy?
Right.
Well, we have the lack of not being able to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happens? So what is in place for people that cannot drive, that need to work,
Right.
that can work, whether it's a part-time job or a specific job that, you know, they can only work certain jobs because of their condition? What's in place for them? And this is where community support needs to happen. I think the problem with not just the Bronx community, I think the problem with people in general is that we don't take anything seriously until it happens to us. And it's not saying that anyone intentionally does it, but let's face it. Epilepsy is not something that's talked about, but it's more in our community than we think.
Right.
Okay. Perfect example. EMS is not trained in seizure safety.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Many people do not know that.
I didn't know that.
How is it that EMS is not trained?
So when you call 911, they don't know how, they're not trained for seizures?
911 doesn't even know if you're having a seizure unless you say it. In the times that I've called 911, I was very specific in saying, you know, he's having a seizure and letting them, but they come pretty much, 911 comes and just checks your vitals.
Right.
They determine if it's something that you need to go to a hospital for. And for liability purposes, they are going to tell you to go to the hospital.
Right. Because they can't diagnose you with anything.
Right. But our police officers that are involved with the community, our teachers who are involved with our children, having to spending more time with our kids than we do.
Yeah.
EMS, they don't know what a seizure looks like.
Right.
You know, a seizure is more than just falling to the floor and eyes rolling behind your head and what you see on TV.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part that we see in our kids in school. We see in adults that don't even know that they have it. And it's not that they're having attention problems or attention deficit, should I say, or they're having an emotional breakdown. There are seizures that actually look like you are having a psychotic break.
Wow.
There's so many different types of seizures. And here's another thing. It's not just about having epilepsy anymore, because while Seizure Cure started with just focus to epilepsy, and it still is a focus, when talking about the Bronx community, we need to also focus on seizure safety.
Right.
You don't have to have epilepsy to have seizures.
Yeah, seizures. That's right.
Okay. You can have seizures from pregnancy. You can have seizures from depression or psychiatric conditions that, you know, at that moment you're having a breakdown, so to speak. You can have seizures just from having a fever. You can have seizures from having another condition that will cause seizures.
Right.
Low blood sugars. That is a huge, huge way of triggering a seizure. So we're not just talking about epilepsy. We're talking about seizures. We're talking about seizures connected to other conditions like diabetes, autism. Huge link with autism and epilepsy. So that's what Seizure Cure is here for. I'm learning as I go along. I'm learning where the defects are. And I'm from the Bronx, so I know the Bronx culture.
Right.
And this is where the interesting part comes in, because working with, you know, the Epilepsy Foundation, who's not from the, you know, they don't cover the Bronx. And it's always like, okay, this is not going to work in this community.
Right.
With what's going to interest them. So moving back to how this started and how this event that's coming up is happening, I received a call from the Epilepsy Foundation that presentation that I did was fantastic. And they want me to represent the Bronx and, you know, doing programs and events, at least 2 to 3 a year. Could I commit to that? And my response was impulsively. I didn't say, he says, you know, get back to me tomorrow. Just think about it. And I'm like, what do I have to think about? If I have the sponsors, if it's being covered financially, yeah, I'll do it.
Right.
He says, again, let me know tomorrow. Think about it. So my answer was the same the next day. I called back. I said, okay, I thought about it.
Yes.
I'm gonna do it. You know. Now, originally, when I was on your show last, the event was supposed to happen last November for Epilepsy Awareness Month. But once August hit and I still did not have a place, you know, they were trying to help me find a place.
Mhm.
I'm a very impulsive. I don't like to wait. This is a problem for some people. I'm a go-getter.
Right.
And I'm an impulsive go-getter. When I say impulsive, I don't mean I do things without thinking. It's that if I want something, I don't like
I'm gonna go get it.
people. I don't like waiting on people. That drives me insane. It brings my blood pressure up. And if I know what I'm doing and I'm confident in what I'm doing, I just want to, if you're going to give me this to do, let me do it to my standards. Let me do it how I want to do it. So being that it was kind of like restricted at that point, I said, this is not going to work. I need to have just 3 months alone for advertising. So the foundation of an event has to be solidified 6 months prior to the event, meaning I have to have a place.
Right. Have a venue booked.
Right.
And a date.
And a date. Now, God was talking to me. You know, I was given inspiration. We can do this. You can do this. I'm like, okay, September's here. November's 2 months away. Don't have a place. No, this is not going to work. We haven't even did budgeting issue. No, we can't. I can't do it like this. So I said, listen, I can't do this. We need to do this for 2024 year. And that's how this came to be. Now, interestingly, I made the right call. When God wants you to do something a certain way, he will talk to you. And if you're willing to listen to the signs, he will take you there. So interestingly, I said no event in November, but in September, going into October, I have someone that I've known for a very long time, and she works for Community Board 9. And she connected me with the community center, which happens to be down the block from where I used to live. So it's in my neighborhood, in my hometown. And she connected me with the director, which is the Sonia Sotomayor Community Center on Rosedale Avenue in the Soundview section of the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
I went November 6th. I went out there to do my presentation. The board of directors for the community center was there. And I'm not going to lie, I was nervous.
Really?
Believe it or not, I do not like public speaking.
You're a whole singer.
I don't like public speaking. I don't like performing because I don't like the spotlight on me. Like right now, just doing this interview.
You're fine.
Edgy. I'm a little edgy.
You're a natural.
But I don't know. That's just me. But I was nervous for that. Once I saw how many board of directors there were in there.
Yeah. The suits were in there. Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh. So, you know, I had to have my little glass of wine before I went in there. I said, I got to loosen myself up. I got to relax, you know.
And that's okay.
That meeting went an hour and a half. It was what I thought to be, it went great. Mm-hmm. But it went better than I thought, because I didn't even know that on the board of directors there is someone that suffers from epilepsy. And they knew what I was coming to present, but they wanted to get a feel of me.
Right.
And I understand that. That's their home, you know. They want to make sure I'm legit. They want to make sure that I'm coming with something. And they loved it. They said that they want to support the fundraiser. They want to support it to the point that I can continue going there and doing programs. And it was approved. So it was supposed to be March 23rd. But we had to change it because of wonderful primary voting, and they're a community center, so they have to designate that time.
Right, for the primaries.
Come vote. So I ended up choosing April 20th. So our first Seize the Cure fundraiser will be on Saturday, April 20th, starting at 1 p.m. Yeah. And it's going to be 5 full hours of music, all kinds, music from all genre. We have guest speakers. We have testimonial speakers. We have media outlets coming out. We have food. We have, you name it, we have it. We're going to have some activities for the kids, little face painting, you know, epilepsy awareness ribbons right on the face, you know, little simple things. But It's a community event. It's a free event, meaning you don't have to pay to come in. And we have, like, right now I have 23 informational booths.
Wow.
Okay. I've picked up sponsors. I have the Epilepsy Foundation is obviously my biggest supporter and sponsor. I have UCB. I have Community Board 9.
Nice.
SK Life Science, Jazz Pharmaceuticals. I have Department of Youth and Community Development, and I have Phipps Neighborhoods.
Those are some big ones.
Oh, yes. So this event, I'm not going to even say how much this event is costing. But when I tell you, if it wasn't for the sponsors, it was not going to happen.
Right.
I have 2 doctors coming out, 2 specialists in epilepsy coming out. I have Dr. Pack from New York Presbyterian, Columbia
which is big.
Center.
That's a big deal.
Very big deal. And I have Dr. Duberstein, who's from Montefiore.
Right. So everybody knows. You know Montefiore in the Bronx.
Yeah. And, Montefiore.
If you're from the Bronx, you know Montefiore.
So we're going to be discussing, I chose the topics that I felt were relevant to our community. I felt that it was important for the Bronx community to know from a doctor the difference between having epilepsy and having seizures. And I also felt that our community needs to know, when should you see a neurologist or get a referral to see a neurologist, which talks about the symptoms and talks about how important that is. So this event is going to be, I project it to be the biggest. The community center fits hundreds of people.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm very excited. The minute I was approved to use this community center for this passion and this event, I developed my board of directors and started having our meetings. Who's doing what? You got to have a strong board of directors, because Seize the Cure for Epilepsy is in the process of becoming an official 501c3.
Yeah.
So
we're official nonprofit.
Yes. So this opportunity has inspired me to take it to where I've always wanted to take it. And you know how it is, but we have a vision, but we don't have the right required support, should I say? Yeah. Because let's face it, you need money to do anything nowadays.
Right. You can have a vision, but
So when God is just kind of showing you, and another sign was that after I did that presentation at the community center, as I'm getting on the plane to come back to Florida, I was about to say to come back to New York, you see? That's why I already belong. Okay. As I'm getting on the plane to come back to Florida, I get a call. Now I'm literally walking down that ramp to go onto the plane. I get a call, and I missed the call, and then I get an email following right after from Bronx 12, News 12.
Yay.
Asking me, we know you had epilepsy awareness organization that you were starting, and we just wanted to know if you're doing anything for Epilepsy Awareness Month this year, because we want to highlight you. So when I got off the plane, I responded and I said, I'm not doing anything this month, but I am planning something for the new year. And she says, okay, well, when can we do an interview? And I said, oh goodness, I'm going back to Florida. So that's where my next trip came, which was a few weeks after I went for Thanksgiving. And I said, you know what? I'll be out there for Thanksgiving. How about we do the interview then? And on News 12, I had an interview. I included the director that I was talking to you about, that was director for PAL at that time.
Yes.
I included her in the interview so she can speak about what she, her struggles with her son and how she connected to me. And
that's dope.
That's God.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's God, because
I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, if I don't take this, I know God's gonna be really pissed off with me.
But even more, it's almost like you're calling.
Yeah, I love what I do. I have a very big heart, and it's kind of therapy for me. I went through a lot dealing with the challenges that came with my son having this, and there were times that it was just completely unbearable.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it was because I wasn't prepared for what to expect.
Yeah. Because nobody tells you.
I did not know where to go, what to do, how to do it. And on top of my board of directors, I formed a planning committee just for this event, which includes people who are struggling with epilepsy and have never spoke about it before. And now they're not only speaking about it, they're helping me advocate.
Right.
Because this is not just about a one-time event. Yes, it's the first fundraiser for Seize the Cure, because why am I raising funds? I'm not raising funds for a cure.
Right.
I'm not raising funds for a cure. I'm raising funds so I can hold programs in the Bronx to spread awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm raising funds so I can advocate for the Bronx in epilepsy awareness and seizure safety. Part of my advocacy plan is, after this event, I want to focus on making seizure safety and epilepsy awareness mandatory workshops in our Department of Education, for our EMS, and for our police officers.
I love that.
Okay. We had a recent case where two cases. I just read about one yesterday where these two individuals were tased. And it was known that they have epilepsy.
They tased them anyway?
And they were tased because here's where the problem comes in. Our police officers are trained to protect, to serve and protect. And if you are a threat to the community or another person, or you are a threat to yourself, they are going to use whatever they are trained to use,
right,
to get you stable and not of a risk of harm to other people or yourself. What your condition is not their concern.
Yeah. However, they're stopping you from harming somebody else, but now you're harming them.
But here's the problem. They don't know any better. Why?
Right.
Because they're not trained in seizure safety and epilepsy awareness. They're not trained to know what they're looking at. We had many cases from before where you have mental health crisis, where our police department was dealing with mental health emergencies. Police are not trained to deal with mental health emergencies. They are trained for what they are trained for. So yes, if they feel that their life is threatened and have to use their gun or have to use their taser or whatever it is that I'm not saying that you have your isolated cases that are just obviously cops who just take the law into their own hands and they have a problem.
Right.
I'm not talking about those isolated cases. I'm talking about the reality that they're not trained to deal with mental health, and they're not trained to know what a seizure is looking like, or for that matter, someone with a neurological condition.
What alternate can they do so that they don't inflict any danger to this person? Because I think that's what they need to know. Like, what other options do you have besides using on a taser with electromagnetic shock on someone who already has seizures and struggles with like brain synapses? Because that's really what's happening, right? And now you're like adding to that. What else can you do to de-escalate besides tase them?
Right. Well, you know how in the Bronx now, they have a unit just for mental health emergencies. In Florida, they have a unit for mental health emergencies, but they also just created a few months ago, they created a unit just for physiological conditions. Okay. Because oh my goodness, excuse me, tongue twisted. Neurological conditions are not the same as psychiatric. It's two different things. Some symptoms may be a little similar,
or they can overlap, but they're not the same.
But if you're dealing with someone who has autism, okay, or has epilepsy or any neurological condition, you have to know how to be aware of what you're seeing and know what it is, and know how to triage it.
Right.
Having the police handle the whole community with all these different things. And that's beautiful what Florida's doing. So I'm like, that should be everywhere.
Right. It should be. Especially at the rates that so many people have so many different medical issues right now in the world on a whole. And we see so much of it on our phones. And everybody knows, then we should be creating programs and constantly educating people, because it's constantly changing. And we've lost like people over things that could have been avoided.
And when you're dealing with the Bronx community, you're dealing, like I said, with a different culture. Maybe in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, you don't have many cases of a young African American or Hispanic male falling to the ground and having a seizure, and the cops thinking that they're high on drugs. But that's something that you see in the Bronx.
Right. Everybody just kind of walks by and let it happen.
He's high. He's going through withdrawal or something like that. And this is
misdiagnosis.
Yeah. So I want to focus on the advocacy part. That's going to be a time consuming thing, because that's, how that goes. That's really going into the law aspect and getting our local officials involved, which I plan to do. I'm a very persistent person. It really sucks because I feel like all this happened at a time that I left New York. Right. And when I was there, I had opportunities and I did stuff, but not to this extent. If I could have known this, but I also plan to do is part of Seize the Cure is incorporating the medical world with the music and entertainment world. I'm an artist. So even though my passion is in epilepsy awareness, and that comes before my music, I believe that music is therapy. And I had an idea, which I've already put into perspective and laid it out. I'm going to be doing a 2-week music tour where I have a selected few artists that have been supporting me from me starting. They've always been a part of my events. And what we're going to do is go into hospitals for those 2 weeks and go to different neurological departments, the neurology floor, neurosurgery, and perform for the patients.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's part of my goal for fundraising, and it's all part of programs. I want to support groups, support groups of people who do have epilepsy, support for parents who are taking care of a child with epilepsy.
For sure.
I feel that with epilepsy, especially if you have convulsions, injury is a huge thing.
Right.
And I feel like if you're aware of how to prevent injury at all costs or at minimum, it would lessen the severity of what could happen from seizures,
Right.
If someone's having seizures, why are they can't drive, obviously. So what does that mean? That means they have to take the train.
Right.
We already know what could happen if you have a seizure on a train track.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are the safety measures that are being established and the resources for the person to be able to get around without putting their life at risk and other people's life at risk? You know how many people that I have spoken to in the years that should not be driving, and they do, because they feel like they have no choice.
Right. Because what else are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to get around? Yeah, we got to get accessoride on board. You got to get covered.
Listen.
Those things got to get covered. They should be part of your,
I tried that personally for myself. Another lesson learned on my own. That is the biggest joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody I know says that they'd be waiting for hours and hours, even if they do get it, but you got to also think about what people need, and that, our healthcare is not just in the hospital. I think that's what people think. They think, oh, your healthcare. Oh, well, if the insurance pays your medical bills, then you don't have any other bills. No, some people living with conditions are living every day with that condition, and it alters their life every day. Some people could take a pill and life is normal. And then other people, they can take 15 pills and life is still not normal for them. They can't go out and ride a bike. They can't go out and drive. They can't have a full-time job. So how do you supplement all of those things in their lives if, there's no other, financial way for them to kind of live and have any type of normal life? And it's not just the money part of it. It's also the quality of life, right? Like, how does a teenager have a quality of life with this the most comfortable sense of normalcy, right? Because it may never be like everybody else's life, but as close to normal as possible, but in a healthy way. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be had, because you want to be safe, but you also don't want to put somebody in a glass jar and say, okay, well, your safe is going to be in this bubble and you can't go outside and you can't do this and you can't do that. And they're living their whole entire life like that either.
Yeah.
So I think people have to think about outside of the box when we think about medical care and how it affects the family and what's covered and what people actually need.
Right. And it's interesting you say that because, in New York, I was told when I moved here, a few people have said, get ready for the healthcare system. I'm still learning the healthcare system out here. I'm just learning now. My son turned 21 and they kicked him off of Medicaid right away. And I went to the office and I said, he needs insurance.
Right.
Forget food stamps and all that. He needs insurance.
Right.
What do you need? He lives with me. What do you need from me on my end? What do you need from his doctors? And they told me it doesn't matter what the doctors say. It doesn't matter that he lives with you. Once you hit 21, there's no Medicaid. So I just found this out last week.
So what happened?
Since
when? I know you had to be covered to a certain age and they force everybody to have it on their taxes. But I thought if you had like a pre-existing condition, medical diagnosis like that, then don't under your like disability or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. If you're not on disability, you're really screwed. And disability does not approve. A lot of people I know have reached out and asked for my help with applying for disability and what could they do to get approved because they were denied.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer that because I know they had denied him too.
Yeah, a lot of people do, but I also heard that they do that the first round and that you literally have to appeal. Like they make it so damn difficult that they almost always deny most people, like 60, 80, 70% of people, and they make you appeal. Like your doctor has to write all these letters and they just make it a freaking inconvenience where people kind of give in and you literally have to keep fighting with them because their job is almost like your insurance company, right? Like to avoid any way possible of having to pay out. And so they kind of look for ways to not pay you versus look for ways to help you.
Well, the sad thing is, and mind you, with disability, you have SSI and you have SSD and you have there's two different ones. SSI, is income based. So my thing is, okay, like with him, they said they denied him because they said he's able to work at a desk. So I'm thinking to myself, epilepsy has to do with the brain, right? And you're pretty much saying that someone can sit at a desk. Okay, yeah, that would eliminate maybe injury from having to sit at the desk. But when someone with epilepsy has to go to the doctor a lot, that has a lot of medical emergencies, that has to constantly go in for EEGs, for medication monitoring, and all the things with the upkeep of having the condition.
Right.
Or if they feel signs that are coming on, a seizure is coming, they can't go to work. They're too sick to feel up to going to work. Or if they have a seizure, they're out of work the day after because it's so
they need to recover.
How can you not approve them at least for SSI? They're not going to be able to hold down a full-time job.
Not long-term.
Not most of the time this is the case. And this appeal takes a good, at least 6 months?
Yeah.
And I hate to sound blunt. I'm a very blunt person. And sometimes my sarcasm could really come off, insulting, but please no one take it this way. And I have epilepsy, so I can say this, but by the time you go through all that stress,
it's going to cause
your seizures have doubled from the stress.
Right.
So there's so many problems with healthcare, and this is, mind you, this is Florida. I'm learning this, and I'm thinking the first thing I thought was, oh my God, what did I do moving here?
Right.
This is not for our situation,
Yeah.
Because I know people in New York who don't have kids, single, and they're getting healthcare, Medicaid, they're getting food stamps. I have 3 people in my household and I was approved for $20 in food stamps. Okay. I heard Florida is different and I'm learning the specifics on that. but I'm not here to advocate for Florida.
Right.
My heart is in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I moved out here. I've been here 3 years, and I must have been out to the Bronx 6 times already.
Yeah.
And
That's home.
I realized it's home after I left.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what it takes, though.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just excited. Like,
Yeah.
I want to help people. I've been through a lot. When my son, he went to high school in a BOCES program. There aren't any BOCES programs in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
There is one, excuse me, Riverdale. But you know how Riverdale, they consider themselves their own borough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's not the Bronx, really. I mean, it is, but it ain't.
That's the only BOCES program. So just think of how many kids we have in the Bronx with many different conditions that don't get the BOCES. Now, if you don't know what the BOCES program is, they're exceptional with dealing with. It's kind of like Montessori
Learning. Yeah.
It's a unique way of learning that they don't have to follow the DOE standards, and the teaching is different, but they also cater to their overall medical and mental health.
Right. So it's holistic.
I remember my son needed to be in that program. It was in Rockland. I went to the school. I had to sit down, the tour. I loved it. I loved the environment. Classes are very, very small. They have rooms just to deal with, emergency situations. It's a very one-on-one. I had to get him in there. Now, the fact that I had to go through all this, I got him bused from the Bronx to Rockland. Now, I don't remember how I did that. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, you probably had to get an advocate.
No.
And have a hearing. You didn't do that?
No. I know I was persistent. I know I kept calling and showing up and getting doctors and getting all this information. I didn't have an advocate. I don't remember the specifics that I went through, but I did what needed to be done for him to get bused. And now and what makes me think of it is that just shows me that there is a way.
Mm-hmm. There's options
available.
Right.
Okay. There are things available that you can do. And sometimes you got to kind of tweak things to, to make it happen. But it's available and people don't know.
Oh.
Okay. Perfect other example. The doctors hadn't seen a seizure from my son for as long as he's been seeing a neurologist since he was 7 years old. When he was about 15, 16, he was seeing an epileptologist. Because once a neurologist can't figure out how to stabilize your seizures or your epilepsy, they send you to an epileptologist. It's a 2-year difference in specializing in epilepsy. So they sent him, and the doctor kept saying, I need to see a seizure. So I'm like,
so what do you want me to do
that? So she's like, I need you to record. Try to record. I felt offended by that. But then
you don't know when it's coming. So how are you going to record?
Oh, yeah. That's why I felt offended. But then I had to take a step back and think, okay, you know what? She really needs to see when I get it, So we go for another visit. After the seizures were still continuing and increasing. And she says to me, I already didn't care for this doctor too much. There was just something about her that just rubbed me the wrong. Oh, I remember what it was. I asked her about CBD.
Mm-hmm.
I was considering CBD for him. And her exact words to me were, CBD oil is very expensive. So you know what my thought was?
Yes.
Are you trying to imply that I don't have money? Why? Because I'm a Puerto Rican from the Bronx and I'm stupid.
Yes. Yeah. What relevance does that have to anything that I just asked you? I asked you, would it help my child? I didn't ask you how much it was.
And I said, doctor, with all due respect, it's none of your business what I can afford or not afford.
Right. That's not what I asked you.
That's not your concern. My question is, how do I go about getting CBD?
Yeah.
Now, once she said that, I didn't even want her advice, to be honest. But then the conversation went into, since she hadn't seen a seizure yet, I forget the name, forgive me, but there are seizures that they label as psychiatric seizures. I said, so let me get this straight, because you haven't seen him have a convulsion. you want to label him with a psychiatric condition. She's like, no, there really are seizures, but they're psychiatric. I'm like, no.
How do you know that
No,
if
no,
you
no.
haven't seen it?
I did my research on this. I said, listen, it's like when you go to a doctor and they can't find out what's wrong with you, they put it as a virus. Okay.
Right.
No, we're not doing that.
And they do the same thing with the kids with the autism.
So, as part of when you have epilepsy, as part of the insurance guideline, you're supposed to go into the hospital for video monitoring for anywhere between 3 days to a week. So it was his due time. And she says, you know what, when he comes into the hospital, we're going to monitor and see where his seizures are. I said, well, first of all, his EEG is always going to be abnormal. He has epilepsy. You will always have an abnormal EEG when you have epilepsy. Now, the question is, how active are the seizures?
Right.
So I told her, I said, okay, you know what? Since he's going to come in here and you're going to leave getting a nice check for him being in here all these days, and the hospital is getting paid a lot of money for him being in here all these days, we're going to get a seizure out. That was the hardest thing I had to do. I had him sleep deprived. He was in the hospital 5 days. I didn't let him sleep. I fed him less so his blood sugars can go lower. I had him in front of electronics. We had everything hooked up to the hospital room so he can play his video games. And I requested a bike in the room. And I said, if there's no bike in the room, he is being discharged and you're not having any access. They put a bike in the room. Day 4, he goes on the bike. What do you think happened?
He had a seizure?
He had a seizure. And the doctor says, okay, we actually seen it. It really is a seizure.
Really? Because you didn't believe me when I told you, but you made me have to deprive my kid so that I had to do all of this?
Right. Because I'm too busy stabilizing him during a seizure that I'm not able to pick up a phone and put my password in and put the camera on. I'm either stabilizing him or calling 911.
You're misdiagnosing him and you're calling it psychological when it's not psychological, which totally changes a lot.
Now, how many people do we think this could be happening to? I happen to be that type of person that just I'm sharp with it. Yeah. I'm on point with it.
A lot of other moms, they just get sent home.
They just don't know.
They don't know.
Question.
Or they're scared. They just take the doctor's word and they're like, whatever you say, you must be right. You're the doctor. You must be right.
And that's why.
Or even like she said, it's expensive. Sometimes people are just intimidated in certain situations. We feel like, I'm at their beck and call, so I have to take whatever they give me, and so you're afraid to advocate because you feel like you don't know. But I feel like as a mom, you know your kid and you know what you see,
Well, that's why another thing I want to advocate for is I don't I don't like, and I have a real problem with you having a condition like epilepsy and having seizures, and you can't afford to get medical alert bracelets. You can't afford to get service dogs, which are highly effective on so many levels for people with epilepsy. Right. Do you know how much a service dog costs at least? Because I looked into it for my situation.
How much is a service dog?
At least $10,000.
For the dog? Why? Because they trained them?
They're special trained. These dogs are exceptional. I've seen it in my daughter's school here.
But they don't cost $10,000. Like they're that exceptional? Like they like, it's just, I know you didn't pay $10,000 for the dog.
They're trained. No, I'm not saying that's what it should cost.
I'm just saying, like, they got a puppy for $600 and they train it, yes. But it didn't cost them $10,000 to train it.
A puppy, a service dog are big dogs. And I've actually seen where they can sense their owner having a seizure before the seizure hits. They go under them to protect them and they alert for help. It's incredible what these dogs do. But here's my thing. No one that, especially if they're at a point that they're having convulsions, no one should be in a situation where they can't have the proper bed safety from having a seizure, or anything in the home that they need, anything for their safety. They should not be able to
Yeah.
not have it because they can't afford it.
People that live alone should have a dog like that.
Absolutely.
Like you should have all the safety equipment, but you shouldn't live alone with seizures or epilepsy and not have the dog there.
Not exactly. So my
Because
thing is,
you
if
need some.
you have a child with convulsions, and they're especially now. Okay, you know what? It should be automatic. You know what? They're going into adulthood. You know, when you're ready, they're ready to have their own place. You know, this is what's available for their safety.
Right.
Why is this so hard? Why is, you know, I don't know how I'm going to advocate for that. I have to really, you know, talk to some people but this is crazy. And I'm just excited because now I feel like I'm amped up for all these things that I've learned from my own situation, that I can deliver the information, or I can help people say, this is where you go. And there's another thing, the event on the 20th, I have testimonial speakers that are talking about epilepsy and the type of seizures that they have that I've never had at any event.
Right.
I have a woman speaking about her seizures are triggered by her hormonal changes, when her period is coming, when she was pregnant. Okay. Very interesting.
The spike in hormones or the drop in the hormones.
Right. I have a artist. She's going to display her art. She has epilepsy. And she also was having issues with getting disability and not working and struggling. She reached out to me. These are people I don't know. And they reached out and they're telling me their story. And anyone that's ever reached out to me, I don't look at myself as a promoter, first of all. But you know how you'll just reach out and you'll text and, you know, they ask questions and you text back. No, set up a time for us to talk on the phone. Right. I want to hear your story. I want to hear what the situation is. And I want to, that way I know how you can benefit from this event, in whether having a table or speaking or whatever it is.
Right.
So this young lady's going to display her art. I have a father who is coming that they're going to have a table. They started a foundation because he lost his son during COVID to a seizure in his sleep. Ironically, we lived in the same area at one time in the Bronx. He's coming out. So it's just, I have testimonial speakers with forms of epilepsy that I've never had at an event. So I'm learning from them and I'm going to learn at the event. I have informational booths that have never been. We have the FDNY coming out with a table. We have the New York Public Library. I have home care services coming out. And then the guest speakers, we have the doctors coming out. So this is huge. The performers, I have new performers. And this is the beautiful thing. Out of 10 performers, 5 of them are also speaking because they have some correlation to having epilepsy.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing that you can pull all of this together and make it happen. And that the people that are there are also there because they want to be there and make a difference.
So, yes, fundraising is crucial. You know, I'm collecting and this is the interesting thing. This is where I have to separate because all the people I have on social media that have seen me firsthand go through what I went through with my son, I was very open about it. So it's not something that's questionable. A lot of these people haven't supported at all.
Right.
And it hurts because I'm like, you know, you watch people give money towards people they don't know.
Right.
You know,
but they always say the strangers are going to end up being your biggest fans sometimes more than the people that you know.
I had a lot of people from Florida donating.
Yeah.
God bless them. They don't know me from a hole in the wall. I just came out here.
But it's
no connection to any of this. I'm fundraising for the Bronx, mind you, to do this in the Bronx. And they're like, you know, we love what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but I focus on who is there. You know, I feel like there's going to be a beautiful thing. You know,
it is going to be a beautiful thing.
And two major things that I did not mention yet, and I haven't forgotten. Miss Karenelle will be emceeing.
I will be emceeing, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited because I feel like epilepsy and seizures or something. My niece has seizures, so it's something that for me I feel like is near and dear because it was scary for me in the beginning. I didn't know, like I was like, how do I know when she's having one?
Yeah,
I straight didn't know, and because it was a convulsion, I guess, with the eyes, but it didn't really look like it. Like I didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. and she would have hers at night. She'd have hers at night when she was sleeping.
Which is
Like when
really
she got into that REM sleep, and so there was many a night that I woke up and the ambulance was at the house. And she's, I want to say 8. So it's really important. It was something that you learn. And like you say, I ask a lot of questions because I don't know. I always gotta ask somebody, but I'm excited to be there for that reason. I want to be there to support other people and to ask the questions. And for me as an aunt, like, how do I support my sister? Because like I said, I know that, we think like, oh, you're just dealing with this by yourself. But, now it affects the whole entire family, right? My niece has a brother and my sister's like, can you babysit? And I'm like, okay, but like, what if something happens? What am I looking for? What do I do? When are you coming back? Because I don't, and so there's a lot of different pieces that go to that. But I'm really excited to be there. I'm excited because it's in the Bronx, and I feel like we definitely need to advocate for the Bronx and give back to the people, because the people are wonderful, and sometimes we don't get the resources we need there. And so that's another thing for me, to be able to be in a space that's giving back to a place that I know needs it, to people that I know love those things and sometimes don't get the love and the hugs that we need in the Bronx. So I'm really excited to be there and just to like share this with you with all your excitement, I think makes me really happy to do it.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. Like right now, after tonight, I'm gonna go and get my daughter she's with her dad. I'm gonna go get her, come back and do more work. Like I've literally been working on this since January. Once I made that decision, I figured, you know what? Let me wait for the new year to hit before I start attacking people with this. Every day, this has been a part of my day-to-day routine, because I'm the kind of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to do it with class. And I'm going to do it with all kinds of effort involved. So I have not slept. And I'm in my sleep, waking up, thinking about what
I got to do this tomorrow. I got to do that tomorrow.
So I'm working with all these sponsors with budgeting and the flyer aspect. All the flyers you've been seeing, I kind of taught myself how to do them. I took the initiative and saying, I got to learn this. I'm tired of waiting somebody to teach
somebody else to do it.
I want to do it myself. Now, there's certain things I still haven't learned yet, but that's another story. And all this stuff, I'm going out there on the 15th, and I have a whole week that I have to meet with everyone, a part of the event, go over things, do the program, do the shopping. It's a lot, but it's a good tired. It's like I'm tired and I'm excited. And I'm scared too. I'm not gonna lie. The one thing that I say this, everyone watching who will watch this, if you can give $5-10, you have done a good deed.
So that's where I was gonna go to next. For all the people, right? Because we're gonna wrap up soon. For all the people who want to donate, let me start by saying this, since I'm emceeing. A donation is a donation is a donation. Let's start there, right? I know times are hard. I know things are rough. So I know giving is, we can't give millions because we don't have millions, but giving comes from the heart, right? So whatever you give, you're giving from the heart. And that's all we want. And if you're giving $5 or $1, give from the heart. If you're giving hundreds of dollars, give from the heart, because that's what matters most. However, I will say this, every dollar counts. Do not say, well, I don't have $500, so I can't give. No, that's not how that works. If you have $5, if you had $20 in your pocket and all you can give is $5, because that's all I can afford to give, then you gave. If you have $600 in your pocket and you're like, all I can give is $100, then you gave. You understand? Do not say no because it's not enough. I'd rather you give a little than give nothing, right? Because that goes right back into all of the communities and all of the people and all of the events and all of the knowledge and the education that Seize the Cure is doing. Like, this goes back into the work that they're doing. And so I don't want anyone to limit that thinking and like, oh, well, I don't want to give because everybody else is. No, I want you to give because your heart tells you to do it and you do it with good intention. So that's my story on people giving, because I know some people like, oh my God, I can't give because I can't like give $5. No, you can. You can, if that's all you can give. And if you can give $5,000, that's great too. But everybody's situation is different. We're well aware, but don't not do it. You don't have to hold on and think that this scrutinizes. Every dollar helps, and it's going to people that need. It's going to education support, to help families be educated, to help parents be educated, to the communities that need the education and the services and the programs. So think about it like that. Like, you are giving into those things in your community that you want to see. And if you don't live in that community, that's okay too. You know, to want to be able to support someone in getting what it is that they need. Because I truly, honestly believe this, TJ, that Seize the Cure is not going to just be in the Bronx. It is going to be bigger than the Bronx. We're starting in the Bronx, but it is going to be bigger. And so when you're giving to an idea of like growing education around seizures and epilepsy. You're not just giving to the Bronx, you're giving to the education of seizures and epilepsy, and what Seize the Cure is doing in the communities. So where can people donate?
Oh, okay. PayPal, it's Seize the Cure, which is SEIZETHECURE, the number 4, epilepsy, EPILEPSY @gmail.com. And then Cash App is Seize the Cure.
All right. So get on your Cash App. All that change y'all got in your Cash App that you're not using because you can't buy nothing.
That's it. Listen,
donate your change.
And at the event, the one thing that is crucial, more than anything, the day of the event is attendance. Because I have these sponsors coming and they're looking to see how much the Bronx needs this. And if they don't see attendance, they're going to say, well, lady, your passion is useless here.
Right.
We don't want that. The Bronx is the forgotten borough. We need to have, and there's going to be information there for everybody. So you do not have to have epilepsy or have someone that you know have epilepsy to benefit from this. There's going to be information there for all types of situations. So you're going to benefit, even if it's just to enjoy the performances. Shout out to platinum selling R&B group Allure, who
they're coming through,
showing their support and performing. They're headlining the event.
Yes.
And it's very sentimental because Akisa from the group had come to the one that I did in Riverview High School.
Oh.
So she saw an idea of what a Seize the Cure event looks like. So
they'll be there.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a good time because I had the pleasure of meeting them recently too, and we hung out and I had so much fun. Yeah, I had so much fun. I was like, I'm coming to hang out with y'all because y'all are like, yeah, they was just so much fun. I was like, no, we're all gonna chill. So I'm looking forward to being there because everybody's gonna be there. So New York, I need y'all to stand up on April 20th. Come out for Seize the Cure. Bring your family, bring the kids, get your face painted, stop by and see the concert, go around to the vendors and ask some questions, give to the organization. This is not just about people that are primarily primarily affected by seizures or epilepsy. If you live in the neighborhood and you want to come out to the event and just be there and your presence and energy be in that space, I'm big on energy being equity too, right? And so bring your energy, bring your family, bring the kids, bring a friend. You know, we're going to stand up on April 20th. We're going to show out and we're going to let the Bronx know like how we do these things, and we're going to support Seize the Cure.
Yep. And we are doing a raffle. I haven't decided, probably a 50-50. I haven't decided fully yet, but bring cash because that helps support the fundraiser. If you want to donate in cash that day, I will have someone collecting just for that. And we're going to have a good time. I've worked too hard for this. So everybody needs to come out. Just come out and have fun. Music will be clean. It's not anything of an inappropriate nature. This is a family event, so all ages will be there. So we want to make sure everything is, I have a nice variety of music, different genres. I have a poet. I
love it.
Oh, that's enough. I have a poet. She actually had a book published and it was her poetry from having epilepsy.
Wow. I love the diversity in this. Yeah, I'm excited. I love the diversity. I want everybody to come out. I want you to charge up your phones and bring them, because there's going to be a lot of photo opportunities at this particular event, and you're not going to want to miss it. You're not going to want to miss it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, TJ, for coming on and sharing this with me. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of you. I'm excited for you, because I know how much of a commitment from the heart this has been. And I'm so excited to be a part of it and share it with you.
Yeah. And my son is going to be there, and he's going to
As he should.
He's going to speak, and my daughter is going to perform, because she plays the piano side. Well, she'll be playing the keyboard because there's no piano there. We can't travel with a piano, but I'm just excited. I really thank you for having me. I thank you for being a part of it.
I'm excited.
This is the how I say, the first impression. This sets the mark if I'm going to be able to represent the Bronx the way it needs to be.
No, not if, when.
When, right?
You already are.
Well, when.
You already are.
So
you already are. You already are. We're all coming out in our best, and we're gonna have a good time and bring our best energy and support you and support Seize the Cure and all of the families that need that support as well. And this is gonna be like a really good space for people to be in that moment, because like you said, we are not going to be the tear jerkers on that day and the heart wrenchers of something that this is going to be a celebration. This is going to be, and people do need to be empowered. They need to be empowered. Like, this is going to be a celebration. Like, yes, you have been through stuff. Yes, this is tough, but guess what? You're still standing. You're still here, and we're all here to support you. Look around. We're all here for you. And I think people need to be in that space too, to understand that you're not alone, right? And there's organizations like Seize the Cure. There's communities like this one. There are sponsors like these people here who all care enough to be here. And I think that's what people need to feel, to be in that energy and in that space. And so that's what's going to happen on April 20th.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be annoying everybody in their inbox and on their pages. If you have a problem with that, you might as well just take me off, because I'm going to go in the last 2 weeks. That's all I'm going to be doing. I actually have people doing it to help out, because there's a lot I have to still do, but I'm really excited. April 20th, 1 p.m. it starts. Come out. It's going to be from 1 to 6, but be there the whole time, because there's stuff for the whole time to be, to enjoy.
TJ, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, so they can find out the address, they can find out more information. Where can they go?
Yes. So we have the website, which is www.seizethecure4epilepsy.com. My Gmail, you can reach me, which is seizethecure4epilepsy@gmail.com. Facebook, Seize the Cure. Instagram, Seize_the_cure.
So make sure that you go follow on social media. You go to the website, you get the address, you get all the details. You're following on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, so that you can see all of the people who are going to be performing there, are all there. You can see all of the vendors. You can see all of the people that are coming out, and some of the activities, and get all of that information so you can know what you're looking forward to. But I can tell you right now that it is going to be so much fun. And you're going to have a good time.
I plan on having a good time. I was supposed to perform, but honestly speaking, I don't know, because
we gonna get it to perform.
If there's room for me,
there's no way she's not gonna play. Not if I'm there. She's gonna do at least one song. There's no way, because you should, because we need to clap for you. We gotta clap for you. So you gotta, just one, but we gotta clap for you, because you earned it.
Wow.
And so you owe that to yourself. You deserve it.
I'm actually working on a song that's based on epilepsy, having a child with epilepsy. I'm working on that. So the next event.
Yeah, it'll be ready.
I'll be ready. Yep.
It'll be ready. All right. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes, you may. Yes,
I'm going to hold you to that. Thank you so much, TJ. And everybody, go follow TJ on all the social media. Hit up the website. We'll be there April 20th. Make sure if you have any questions, you can email her Gmail, Seize the Cure, or the number 4, epilepsy@gmail.com. Go over to the website. It's the same thing, www.seizethecure and the number 4, epilepsy.com. Everything is there that you need to know. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait. I only have a week left, so I have to, get ready. But thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to seeing you and
of course
us getting it done.